Taking her to the king is the highest honor to our culture. This will be the way to prove to Lisa I respect her a lot, and I am committed to her.
Oh my God, this is a king. He looks like a king. He's wearing lion head and this headdress, and I feel like I'm gonna myself.
Why are you laughing? Did you see me laugh?
No, my king.
Lisa's laugh hits like a spark in a powder keg, and instantly you can feel the tension in the room spike so high, it's almost tangible. Because this isn't just any laugh, it's the kind of laugh that could undo months of planning, traditions, and maybe even their entire relationship, all in one nervous, awkward moment. She's sitting there, eyes wide, heart pounding, staring up at a man who is more than a person. He's the king of Daniel's tribe, a figure whose authority isn't just ceremonial, it's ancestral, sacred, and absolute. Every bead, every headdress, every movement carries weight that Lisa, bless her, barely understands. And yet, in that tiny slip of a giggle, the room shifts, the king stiffens, Daniel freezes. The cameras capture a moment so loaded that even the walls seem to lean in, watching to see what comes next. Hi, I'm Sabrina, and welcome back to TLC Drama Live, where we break down the wildest, juiciest, and most dramatic 90-Day Fiance moments so you can catch every shocking beat that the show doesn't always tell you outright. Make sure to hit subscribe and comment below because we're going to unpack every single reaction, misstep, and cultural clash in this explosive episode, and I want to hear your thoughts. What would you do if you were in Lisa's shoes? Right now, Lisa's brain is running 1,000 miles an hour. Her nerves a mix of excitement and sheer terror, because she knows on some level this moment is monumental, but she has no idea just how monumental it is. Daniel has told her this is the highest honor in his culture, that meeting the king is meant to prove her respect and his commitment, but he hasn't prepared her for the emotional gravity of the situation, and he also hasn't told her everything. We don't yet know just how much Daniel is navigating here himself, the blend of tradition, his family's expectations, and his own complicated personal agenda that the show has teased but never fully explored. Lisa laughs, trying to hide her panic, maybe to lighten the pressure, maybe because she's overwhelmed, and instantly the room's energy shifts. The king's gaze is sharp, his silence almost louder than words could ever be, and you can feel the stakes pressing down on Lisa from every angle. She's teetering between respect and instinct, between her nervousness and the absurdity she perceives, and the audience is caught in the same tension, waiting for the first crack in this cultural and emotional minefield to explode. Even before she arrived, Lisa had been obsessed with social media drama, the other woman Daniel allegedly messaged, the mysterious blocks, the unanswered questions, and she carries all of that into the room with her, layered over a fear of messing up this encounter in front of the king, Daniel's family, and the cameras. She's nervous, but she doesn't want to show it. Every misstep could be interpreted as disrespect, and in this context, disrespect isn't just awkward, it's potentially catastrophic. Daniel, on the other hand, is composed, but you can see the tension in his posture too, because he knows that a single laugh, a single poorly timed gesture, could threaten everything he's been working toward. He's balancing on a knife's edge of cultural protocol and personal ambition, trying to protect Lisa without overstepping, all while keeping the king's favor, which is far from guaranteed. The cameras capture it all. Lisa's wide eyes, the tiniest quiver of her lips before the laugh, Daniel's barely contained panic, the subtle movements of the king's attendants, and that moment stretches long enough to make your chest tighten. The audience can almost hear their own heartbeat as they watch, wondering, is this it? Is this the moment everything collapses? And yet, even in this high-stakes chaos, there's a strange comedy in Lisa's human response because it's pure nerves, pure overwhelm, and somehow, incredibly, completely relatable. We've all been caught in moments far bigger than we imagined, moments where our instincts betray us just when we're trying to get it right. Lisa's laugh could end everything, or it could become the moment she proves she can survive under pressure. And that tension between potential disaster and unexpected triumph is exactly what makes this opening so gripping. Her innocence, her nervousness, Daniel's hidden layers, and the king's absolute authority collide in a single moment that sets the tone for the entire episode. If you think a laugh is harmless, think again here. It could mean the difference between disaster and acceptance, between tension and relief, and every second matters as Lisa navigates this cultural tightrope. Lisa is pacing the hotel room like a storm about to break, each step a tiny drumbeat of nervous energy, and her mind refuses to stay on one thought for more than a second. She's imagining the king's palace as if it's straight out of a Disney movie: marble floors, towering gates, golden chandeliers, a moat maybe even filled with swans, and a royal parade to announce her arrival. She smiles at the vision, almost convinced it's going to happen that way, and in that naive optimism, she finds a fragile sense of control over her nerves. She talks to herself quietly, imagining the king bowing to her like some kind of fairy tale prince in a real-life episode of royalty, while Daniel is calmly telling the camera that, no, this isn't a castle and there are multiple kings, none of whom live like fairy tale figures. But Lisa only half listens. She's clinging to her fantasy because reality feels heavy, unpredictable, and terrifying. Her heart races, not just because of the upcoming meeting, but also because of the leftover drama from social media. The woman Daniel had allegedly messaged before she arrived. The blocked messages, the unanswered questions, the small injustices she insists she's trying to rationalize. She keeps replaying the conversations in her head, trying to figure out if she's missing something, or if the other woman really was jealous, or if this is proof that Daniel's intentions aren't entirely pure. Her thoughts jump like popcorn, bouncing between worry for the social media drama and what's about to happen with the king, and that collision of stressors creates a tight, almost suffocating mental cage. Every little detail she rehearses, the way she'll kneel, the way she'll smile, the way she'll speak, feels like a make-or-break audition. Daniel, of course, is watching her quietly, knowing the stakes, but he isn't panicking like Lisa. He understands the cultural nuances, the proper etiquette, the expectations that Lisa has no idea exist. He knows that the king is serious, that the blessing isn't just symbolic, and that any misstep could ripple into months of tension or embarrassment. Lisa, meanwhile, is still imagining herself in a grand ballroom, not a humble but dignified royal home. And that disconnect between expectation and reality is already setting her up for stress-induced mistakes. It's almost heartbreaking to watch because her enthusiasm is genuine, but it's coupled with such extreme naivety that you can't help but empathize while also cringing a little. As she sits on the bed, taking deep breaths, twisting her hair, and muttering self-affirmations under her breath, she oscillates between determination and panic. She tells herself she's prepared, that she's respectful, that she's ready, but the tight knot in her stomach betrays her. Her coping mechanisms are as human as they are flawed: nervous giggles, imaginary conversations, and overanalyzing Daniel's every word. The show captures every small tick, every glance at the clock, every mental rehearsal of how to impress the king, and the audience can feel her anxiety as if it's their own. And yet, in the midst of all this, there's a spark of hope. She genuinely wants to succeed. She wants to prove herself, to show respect, to earn the king's blessing, to hold her ground despite the unfamiliar rules and high stakes. Her innocence, her obsession with fairness, and her emotional reactions make her both relatable and suspenseful to watch. You're holding your breath along with her, knowing that even before she steps into the king's presence, the battle has already begun in her mind. Every moment she hesitates, every thought spirals, and every imagined scenario she clings to only tightens the tension. Will her anxiety push her to make a misstep before she even meets the king? Or will she somehow find the composure she desperately needs? The moment Lisa steps into the king's domain, the air changes. The room isn't a palace straight out of her fairy tale dreams, but it carries a quiet, commanding authority that immediately commands respect. The king sits elevated, surrounded by attendants whose eyes are sharp, body straight, every movement deliberate. His attire is mesmerizing and intimidating all at once. A headdress crowned with lion motifs, intricate beadwork cascading over his chest, layers of vibrant fabric that speak to centuries of tradition, and jewelry that glints in the light like warnings. Lisa freezes for a second, her mouth half open, a mixture of awe and sheer terror flooding her senses. Her brain is screaming both, "I'm in the presence of royalty," and "I have no idea what I'm supposed to do next." Daniel walks beside her, calm and composed on the outside, but inside, he's performing an intricate balancing act. He knows the protocol, the expectations, the subtle gestures that will convey respect and allegiance to the king, Yet his mind is also ticking through personal goals, marriage, Lisa's impressions, the blessing that could make or break his plans. Every step he takes, every word he utters is measured, not just for Lisa's sake, but for the weight of centuries of tradition sitting in that room. He's the bridge between Lisa's chaotic optimism and the unyielding seriousness of the king's court, and the tension is almost unbearable. Lisa's gaze flickers from the king to the attendants to Daniel, her thoughts racing. She tries to process the enormity of the moment while her body reacts instinctively, sweaty palms, shallow breaths, a nervous smile that threatens to turn into a laugh. And then it happens. In the briefest lapse of control, her nerves manifest in that familiar giggle, a laugh entirely inappropriate for the situation. The king freezes, his eyes narrow slightly, the room stills, and all the attendants' attention seems to pivot toward Lisa as if she's suddenly the sole axis of the world. It's not malicious, it's instinctive, but in this cultural arena, a single laugh is no small thing. It's a potential insult, a misstep that could ripple outward, affecting respect, honor, and the blessing Daniel has been working to secure. Daniel's reaction is instant but subtle. He leans slightly toward her, a hand poised near her shoulder as if to shield her without overstepping, while his words to the cameras are calm and measured. He reassures that technically, the blessing isn't mandatory for marriage, but in his culture, the weight of approval carries meaning far beyond the ceremonial. And now, with Lisa's nerves spilling out in the form of laughter, he's forced to juggle the impossible, soothe Lisa, avoid disrespecting the king, and maintain the momentum of the ceremony. The tension between personal affection and cultural obligation is tangible, and it's playing out like a tightrope act in front of cameras, family, and tradition itself. Lisa's awe, fear, and nervous humor are juxtaposed with the king's solemnity, creating a cocktail of suspense, humor, and anxiety that keeps viewers on edge. Every subtle glance, every hesitant step, every muffled breath contributes to an intricate dance of human behavior under high stakes. The attendants shift slightly, the king's expression remains unreadable, and the room hangs in a delicate balance where the next action could either smooth over or catastrophically unravel the encounter. With Lisa's nerves threatening to spark a full-blown cultural misstep, every viewer is left wondering, can Daniel save this delicate moment without violating centuries of tradition? Or has a single laugh already put everything in jeopardy? The king sits in perfect stillness, and even without a word, his presence fills the room like a force field. There's no aggression, no hostility, but every movement, every gesture, every tilt of his head radiates authority. In this culture, respect isn't demanded with threats, it's inherited through expectation, earned through action, and recognized by tradition. Lisa, still reeling from her nervous laugh, is trying to decode what behavior is appropriate, what is expected, and how to navigate a system she doesn't understand. She's caught between awe and fear, between wanting to honor the ritual and wanting to laugh at the absurdity of her own panic, and the audience is right there with her, feeling both the tension and the relatability of being completely out of one's depth. Daniel steps in, but not like a superhero rushing to fix a problem. He moves subtly, with calm authority and precise words that honor the king's protocol while gently guiding Lisa. He's the human bridge, translating unspoken rules and cultural expectations into actions she can understand, while also protecting her from crossing a line that could turn admiration into offense. It's a delicate dance. One wrong word, one misstep, and the entire ceremonial moment could sour. Daniel's role here is not just partner, but interpreter, negotiator, and protector. All in real time, all under the weight of tradition and the watchful eyes of a king who has seen generations come and go. Lisa's attempts to follow the instructions are both endearing and tense. She kneels when told, straightens when told, tries to meet the king's gaze without overstepping, but her humor keeps sneaking out, an embarrassed giggle, a nervous smile, a whispered apology that comes out more like a stammer. It's impossible not to feel for her, because anyone in a high-pressure, unfamiliar setting would react the same way. The audience gets a front-row seat to how humans cope when rules are invisible, but expectations are absolute, and the insight here is subtle, but important. Respect isn't about perfection. It's about effort, attentiveness, and understanding the weight of someone else's norms. The king observes silently, letting the room hold its tension. His authority doesn't need to be shouted. It's understood. Lisa is learning that laughter, timing, and posture carry a meaning far beyond her experience, and the audience is learning with her. Humor is natural, instinctive, human, but in this environment, it has consequences. Daniel steps closer, quietly explaining that certain reactions are seen as disrespectful unless aligned with the king's own behavior. He reassures Lisa, but without diminishing the weight of what's happening. His mediation is subtle, effective, and necessary. It demonstrates how one can navigate cultural differences with empathy, awareness, and tact, a lesson that transcends this single moment. Lisa's nervous humor continues to bubble beneath the surface, each giggle a reminder that she is human, that pressure is relentless, and that mistakes can happen even with the best intentions. The audience can feel her panic mix with her sincerity, creating a cocktail of suspense, empathy, and anticipation. Every second is a question. Will the king interpret her laugh as innocent nerves, or will it be read as an insult? With every bead, every gesture, and every controlled breath, the room holds its collective anticipation. Will the king forgive Lisa's laugh, or will this single moment become the defining test of respect and cultural understanding? The room feels heavier now, charged with a tension that's almost tangible. Every movement Lisa makes is scrutinized, not just by the king, but by the attendants, Daniel, and even herself, as she tries to reconcile her nerves with the enormity of what's happening. The tribal blessing isn't a simple formality, it carries the weight of heritage, honor, and the future of their relationship. If Lisa missteps, it's not just a social faux pas, it could jeopardize months, even years, of planning, dreams, and commitments. The audience can feel this pressure seep through the screen, every breath Lisa takes carrying stakes far beyond the hotel room, where she spent hours imagining a glittering palace. Daniel watches with a careful mix of pride and anxiety. On the surface, he's calm, guiding Lisa gently, whispering subtle cues to help her navigate the unspoken rules. But there's a layer of dramatic irony that the audience can't ignore. Daniel's own past, including the shadow of deception, the woman on social media, the questions he hasn't answered, and the green card implications, adds an invisible weight to the scene. Every nervous smile from Lisa, every hesitant step becomes more loaded because we, the viewers, know that the stakes aren't just cultural. They're personal and strategic as well. The tension is thick, almost unbearable, and the room itself seems to shrink around her. Lisa's anxiety escalates as the king begins to speak directly to her, his tone measured, commanding, and heavy with expectation. He asks questions she hadn't prepared for, questions that aren't just procedural, but deeply rooted in the traditions she doesn't fully understand. Every syllable feels like a test. How she answers, how she reacts, how she balances respect with authenticity will determine whether she earns approval or accidentally insults centuries of culture. Her hands tremble slightly, her eyes dart nervously, and for a moment, the audience is invited into the fragile, high-stakes theater of human behavior under pressure. Her laughter, once a nervous reflex, now seems miles away, replaced by concentrated effort to show sincerity and attentiveness. Then, the king introduces something unexpected, a ceremonial element Lisa hadn't rehearsed. It could be a symbolic gesture, a physical demonstration of respect, or a request to participate in a ritual that feels alien. Lisa freezes, her brain scrambling to interpret the significance while keeping her composure. Daniel steps subtly closer, his eyes meeting hers, offering silent support and a gentle nudge, reminding her that she can do this, even if every instinct is screaming otherwise. The twist is enough to spike both her panic and the audience's anticipation. We know that one misstep could undo everything, but we also see a window for redemption if she rises to the challenge. Through it all, Lisa's nervousness becomes a mirror of her growth under pressure. She's forced to confront the gap between her expectations and reality, between her instincts and the traditions she's entering. Each small gesture, kneeling correctly, responding respectfully, participating in the ritual, shows incremental mastery, while Daniel's guidance highlights the delicate balance between cultural literacy and relational loyalty. The psychological tension is palpable. Can a person fully honor someone else's centuries-old traditions while remaining authentic? And can love survive the scrutiny of ritual, authority, and secrets? With every word from the king, every measured look, and every ceremonial step, the stakes rise higher. Will Lisa pass this emotional and cultural test, or will her nerves, combined with the weight of Daniel's hidden motives, turn a blessing into a disaster? Lisa's hands shake slightly as she moves through the motions of another ritual step, and for a split second, it feels like the world narrows to her, Daniel, and the king. One wrong posture, one mistimed word, and it could all collapse. Her eyes dart nervously, her breathing quickens, and you can almost feel the tension radiating off her. There's a subtle humor in watching someone so clearly out of their element, fumbling through centuries-old customs while trying desperately to appear composed. But make no mistake, the humor isn't cruel. It's the humanizing tension of seeing someone trying their hardest under immense pressure, feeling completely exposed and vulnerable, while the stakes hover above like an invisible sword. Daniel's expression tightens, calm on the surface, but underneath there's a storm of anxiety. Every inch of his posture and every word he whispers is calculated to maintain respect for the king while defending Lisa from the potential fallout of her missteps. He's caught between genuine care for Lisa, the desire to secure the king's blessing, and the very real personal implications that hang over him. Marriage approval, legitimacy of the union, and yes, the underlying shadow of green card motivation. The audience is acutely aware of this tension. The dramatic irony creates a nervous energy that pulses through every line of dialogue, every hesitation, every tiny glance exchanged in the room. Lisa's coping mechanisms are on full display. Her nervous humor surfaces in small, almost imperceptible ways: an awkward laugh, a stifled smile, a fleeting attempt to lighten the mood with self-deprecating thoughts, but each of these tiny gestures risks misunderstanding in this environment. The commentary observes, not to mock, but to analyze. These are instinctive responses to fear, high stakes, and cognitive overload. Humans are wired to release tension with humor. But in this moment, her humor is a test of cultural boundaries. It's fascinating, psychologically, to see how stress can both hinder and reveal character as Lisa's authenticity emerges even under scrutiny. The king's gaze is unwavering, and each subtle gesture Lisa makes is evaluated. There's no drama in shouting, no theatrics, yet the authority in the room is undeniable. Every small misstep, kneeling slightly wrong, hesitating in response, a misaligned glance, magnifies the tension, and the audience is pulled into a loop of anticipation. Will this be the moment that unravels everything? The stakes are high, and the pressure is relentless. Each second is a chance for redemption or failure, and every viewer is caught between fear for Lisa and fascination with her perseverance. Daniel leans in slightly, his voice quiet but firm, reminding her of the right posture, the proper gesture, the subtle nuances of respect. It's a lifeline, both practical and emotional, and it underscores his role as both protector and mediator. He is the bridge between worlds, trying to ensure that Lisa survives not only the ceremony, but the scrutiny of tradition while still maintaining the trajectory of their relationship. The psychological tension is palpable. Will a partner's intervention be enough when personal missteps collide with centuries of protocol? With Lisa teetering on the edge of failure, her nerves threatening to topple the ceremony, and Daniel's quiet desperation hanging in the air, the audience is left holding their breath. Will his plea be enough to save her standing? Or is this the moment that turns a blessing into disaster? The atmosphere shifts almost imperceptibly, like a breeze moving through a tense room. The king leans forward slightly, his eyes still commanding, but there's a hint of softness now, a subtle recognition that Lisa is trying. He begins to explain, patiently yet firmly, the proper etiquette, the gestures, the timing, the rhythm of responses expected in his culture. Lisa leans in, absorbing every word, nodding as she realizes that the rules she had feared are not arbitrary, but deeply meaningful. It's a subtle lesson in humility, attentiveness, and the weight of respect, and the audience can sense the relief ripple through her as comprehension begins to replace panic. For the first time, Lisa laughs at the right moment. It's small, tentative, but perfectly timed with the king's own subtle expressions, and the effect is immediate. The tension eases slightly, the attendant's shoulders relax, and even Daniel allows himself a micro smile. This is her first real behavioral victory. She is learning, adapting, and demonstrating that nerves alone won't define her interaction. She is beginning to understand that respect isn't about perfection. It's about effort, presence, and the ability to listen and respond appropriately. The audience can't help but cheer for her, feeling both empathy and the satisfaction of witnessing growth under intense scrutiny. The ceremony continues with a moment that carries deep symbolic weight, the ancestors' blessing. Lisa approaches, hesitant but more confident now, knowing that each step, Each gesture, each carefully modulated smile contributes to the verdict she is seeking. The king performs the ritual with precision, and the air seems to vibrate with the energy of generations observing the present moment. Lisa follows the instructions, her movements tentative but increasingly assured. It's a dance of cultural literacy, emotional intelligence, and personal courage, and every micro-movement matters. Daniel watches intently, proud and anxious, fully aware that approval here will shape not just perception, but the very future of their relationship. Then comes the final test, a ceremonial dance. The king motions, inviting Lisa to participate, and the room's attention focuses entirely on her. She hesitates for a heartbeat, then allows herself to move, first stiffly, then with growing fluidity as the ritual's rhythm guides her. The humor is subtle, but present. Her steps are imperfect, her timing slightly off, but it's infused with sincerity, which is what matters most in this context. The commentary highlights this. Balancing light teasing with respect, Lisa is clumsy, yes, but she is learning and adapting in a way that earns acknowledgement rather than ridicule. This blend of humility, humor, and human error makes her victory authentic and satisfying. Even as Lisa completes the dance, the king's expression shifts slightly, a quiet nod signaling approval. The ancestor's blessing is effectively given, and the immediate tension lifts, but the audience is reminded that this isn't the end of all uncertainty. There are still unseen dynamics, subtle undercurrents, and unresolved questions about Daniel's past actions, his motives, and how this relationship will play out beyond the ceremony. The lesson is clear. Growth, effort, and cultural respect can earn recognition, but life outside this room still carries complications. Lisa has earned a tangible victory, yet the air is thick with the knowledge that acceptance here doesn't erase hidden tensions, secrets, or future challenges that could upend everything. The moment stretches, electric and heavy, as the king rises slightly and formally offers his blessing. Lisa freezes for a heartbeat, the culmination of every nervous glance, every hesitant gesture, every misstep now condensed into this single instant. Relief floods her face in a rush she can barely contain, a mixture of gratitude, disbelief, and triumph. She exhales shakily, and the audience can feel it alongside her. The tension, the suspense, the accumulated anxiety of every ritual step evaporating in one ceremonious gesture. Daniel, standing beside her, lets out a quiet but unmistakable sign of validation, a nod of approval that tells Lisa she has succeeded in navigating the labyrinth of expectation and earned respect on this sacred ground. The psychological beat is rich, relief intertwined with pride, fear giving way to satisfaction, and the audience riding each emotional wave with her. The ceremonial dance begins, and Lisa participates with growing confidence. Every step, once hesitant, is now informed by observation and understanding. She moves in rhythm with the attendants, her laughter now genuine, her smiles appropriately timed, and her gestures measured yet expressive. There's an almost cinematic quality to this transformation. The naive outsider adapting, learning, and achieving a small but meaningful victory under intense scrutiny. The commentary highlights this, blending humor with insight, showing viewers not just that she's succeeding, but why it matters psychologically. She's demonstrating adaptability, respect, and courage under pressure, traits that command attention in any relationship and in any cultural context. Even as Lisa moves fluidly, the camera, or the aeration, shifts subtly back to Daniel. His face is calm, composed, almost proud, but there's a shadow lurking behind the smile. The audience knows, thanks to prior context and dramatic irony, that this blessing exists within a complicated framework. Daniel's past actions, his undisclosed social media entanglements, and the green card motivations that brought him here in the first place. The ceremony is genuine, the blessing authentic, yet the psychological tension persists. Can a ritual rooted in tradition withstand the unseen threads of personal ambition, secrets, and deception? The commentary teases this subtly, reminding viewers that a blessing today doesn't guarantee smooth sailing tomorrow. Lisa completes the dance, bowing respectfully, and the king's attendants echo approval with solemn gestures. The ceremonial atmosphere is a mixture of reverence and celebration. A quiet triumph fills the room. The audience, having witnessed Lisa's evolution from nervous outsider to compliant, respectful participant, feels a sense of catharsis. There's satisfaction, Yes, but it's underscored with tension. This isn't the end of the story. Daniel's intentions, hidden motives, and the unresolved past continue to hover over their future together. Every viewer is left asking the unspoken question, will this blessing translate to lasting acceptance? Or is it a fragile veneer masking deeper complications? Psychologically, Lisa is riding a wave of emotional release, relief, pride, and cautious joy. Daniel is savoring validation, both personal and relational. But with the audience, the tension lingers, the blessing is given, the ritual complete, yet the future remains uncertain. Uncertain enough to keep everyone leaning forward, eyes glued to the next beat of drama. Lisa has received the king's formal blessing, yet beneath the ceremony, the hidden threads of deception and Daniel's motives threaten to pull the stability apart. Will this cultural victory survive the test of truth and time? The ceremony's glow hasn't even faded, and yet a darker undercurrent lingers, almost like a shadow stretching over the triumph. Daniel smiles, participates, and nods along with Lisa, fully present on the surface, but beneath that calm exterior, a secret simmers. He is still married, still entangled in past commitments, and the audience knows it. Dramatic irony that heightens every interaction. The blessing, the laughter, the apparent harmony, they are all juxtaposed against the unseen web of deception, making every smile feel slightly uneasy. This isn't about shaming, it's about understanding behavior. Daniel's actions, perfectly polite and attentive in public, are weighted with private motives that shape his decisions in ways viewers can observe if they pay attention. Lisa, blissfully unaware, basks in the apparent approval of the king, thinking that every nervous gesture and learned laugh has secured her place. But for the audience, the tension spikes. Every compliment she receives, every nod from Daniel, carries a dual meaning. The commentary draws attention to this duality, teasing apart surface behaviors from underlying identity and intent. Daniel's politeness is genuine, yes, but it's also strategic, a carefully curated performance designed to align cultural respect with personal gain. Viewers are encouraged to notice the micro behaviors, a subtle hesitation before responding, a fleeting glance, the timing of reassurance. These are cues, signals that reveal layers of motive without ever spelling it out explicitly. Witty analysis keeps the audience engaged. Here's Daniel, the ultimate behavioral chameleon, playing the role of attentive fiancé while simultaneously pursuing personal objectives that Lisa cannot yet see. And Lisa, for all her visible nervousness and sometimes awkward gestures, is similarly navigating a performance, albeit unconsciously. Her laughter, her stumbles, her attempts to follow the ritual, these are all behavioral markers that viewers can read, learn from, and judge without ever crossing into personal attack. The tension isn't about their characters as people, it's about the dynamics between behavior, perception, and hidden agendas. This segment becomes a subtle masterclass in watching human behavior in high-stakes situations. Viewers can analyze reactions, inconsistencies, and micro-expressions, the slight pull of a smile, the way Daniel's tone shifts when the conversation turns to approval or authority, the way Lisa's body language softens or stiffens in response to stress. Commentary highlights how small actions can reveal intent, even when words say otherwise. The audience is drawn into a game of observation, heightening engagement while simultaneously providing entertainment and psychological insight. Yet, the ultimate question looms, a mini cliffhanger that keeps hearts racing. Will Lisa ever discover the full scope of Daniel's secrets? Every ritual, every laugh, every blessing is now seen through the lens of potential deception. The audience, equipped with subtle cues and commentary, is left both amused and anxious, invested in the drama beyond the ceremony. Every micro behavior, every careful smile, every ritual success or stumble is now loaded with significance, making them question what seems real and what is performative. The audience watches with bated breath. Lisa's joy and cultural triumph are real, but Daniel's hidden motives hover like a storm cloud, and one revelation could shatter everything. Lisa exhales, finally letting the tension slip from her shoulders, and it's impossible not to feel the relief radiating through the room. She has navigated a maze of cultural expectations, ceremonial tests, and emotional landmines, and somehow emerged with respect earned, laughter correctly timed, and even a small victory over her own nerves. Every hesitant bow, every awkward giggle, every tiny step of the ceremonial dance has been absorbed by the king, acknowledged, and, most importantly, forgiven. The weight of centuries-old tradition and the scrutiny of attentive attendants are behind her. at least for now. And she is left standing not just as a participant, but as someone who has adapted, survived, and, however imperfectly, succeeded. Daniel, meanwhile, is visibly reassured. His expression softens, a quiet nod confirming both the blessing received and the temporary triumph of his careful orchestration. Yet beneath the validation, the audience is reminded of the layers of complexity that remain. His past, the marriage still unspoken, the green card motivations all hover like shadows that could disrupt this fragile equilibrium at any moment. The commentary teases these possibilities with subtle wit. He may be basking in the victory now, but the story isn't over, and neither is the scrutiny. Every action, every word, and every laugh has meaning beyond the surface, and viewers are invited to hold on to this tension as they consider what might come next. Lisa's relief is palpable, but so is her continued innocence. She has survived the immediate emotional and cultural trials, yet she remains blissfully unaware of the full scope of Daniel's hidden motives. This contrast between her triumph and the lurking complications adds a layer of suspense that keeps viewers leaning in. Commentary points out the psychology behind her behavior. She copes with fear through humor, attempts to regain control by learning rituals, and demonstrates resilience under pressure. Each of these moments is relatable, human, and keeps the audience emotionally invested while providing insight into behavior under stress. As the ceremony concludes, attention shifts slightly to the future, teasing the drama yet to come. The king's blessing, though meaningful, is only one chapter in a story that has many twists waiting. How will Lisa react if Daniel's secrets come to light? How will their relationship survive scrutiny, cultural friction, and the pressures of real-world obligation? The commentary poses these questions with playful but pointed curiosity, ensuring viewers remain hooked, eager to follow the next installment. The narrative encourages observation and speculation. Every glance, gesture, and choice in these next steps could foreshadow conflict, and the audience is equipped to notice the cues as the drama unfolds. The beauty of this moment is that it's both an ending and a beginning. Lisa has faced one of the highest stakes cultural and emotional challenges of her journey and emerged intact. Yet the shadow of deception and potential fallout hangs just beyond the frame. The commentary underscores this duality, blending humor, psychological insight, and empathetic observation to maintain engagement. Viewers are left with the satisfaction of closure from the ceremony, coupled with the irresistible curiosity of what's coming next. Lisa may have earned the king's blessing, but Daniel's secrets and future twists promise drama that will keep everyone watching. Are you ready to see what happens next on TLC Drama Live?